before we really get into the meat of it.
Okay, you mean
so we should be live right now. But yeah, if anyone is already watching, I'm gonna let a few, because it seems like pretty reliably we jump right into it, and then with like 1 or 2 people here, and then by the time there's 10 or 20 people here, they've missed the first part of the conversation. So
okay,
I think I'm gonna wait this time to
yeah,
I'm gonna pop out my little chat.
Yeah, that's what I always do. I'm getting set up here on the second screen. I can never figure out. I tried this time. It took a minute, and that's why blame it on me for being late today.
Oh, no worries.
Shifting this screen around, I cannot.
So that's Canadian internet.
Yeah.
So this should be an interesting one, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm gonna wait, and like I was just telling Shay a second ago, right as we went live, that I think most often we jump into the conversations a little too quick before we even get 5 or 10 people here. So we're going to give it 2 to 3 minutes at least. So if you have any questions you want to throw up on the board, don't worry. We will absolutely be talking about what's going on in the U.S. elections. And Shay has a couple other topics as well that we'll get onto. So interesting times, interesting times. So we're just going to wait until we get a few people so we don't have to repeat the same things over again and bore you guys who showed up early. But since you're here first, definitely you can jump on, drop in any questions that you have. We have 27 watching right now. I think we'll let that trickle up a little bit more, and then we'll get into the fun stuff. Exciting, exciting stuff. See, we got Evil Blonde, got Mark Olson, Donna Hoppins, 762, Machine Gun Haylift. I don't know if I recognize that one. Truth Faction, says 308, 762. A lot of recognizable names. Bizza Rizza Jizza. He said he heard Kamala is a special guest tonight.
Yeah, that'd be great. Did you see her? I didn't see the video, but I heard on the radio every 5 damn minutes after Biden won. She's like, "Congratulations!" She had a
that was so annoying. I hate her voice.
You're gonna be the next president.
Yeah, and it sounded like she was talking to a child too, like, or like, congratulations, you're gonna be the next president. He's like, yeah, which isn't too far from the truth, honestly.
Yeah, it was very, very, very irritating. So we'll definitely
Illinois here. Yeah, so welcome once again, one and all. We've got about 40 people, so I think we can go ahead and kick it off.
Yeah,
welcome to the Prepper Trifecta live streams once again with Shay from Prepper Logic and myself, Eric, from the Rule of the Wasteland / Lord Among Us channel, which we are currently on. Should be a fun one tonight. We got a lot of weird, and potentially shit the fan inducing things to talk about.
Well, I'm a little tripped out. So
you're a little tripped out?
And I usually don't get tripped out. So
yeah, you mean a little bit on edge, kind of, you mean? Like just
well, with that last email I got, it was just, and it sounds consistent with our prime minister here. And the fact that you guys have Biden now it's like there's two I don't know, there's 2 dudes that are on the same page in terms of steering things to more of a socialist sort of agenda, in my opinion.
Well, first let's start with that, the now that we have Biden thing, because obviously the AP, the Associated Press, has announced that Biden won the election, but I got a little picture for you here that some of you guys may remember, if you're old like me, Shay. And that is President Al Gore. How long did that last? So he actually didn't concede until I think it was December 12th or 13th, something like that. So we're not even close to unprecedented territory yet. And for those of you who've been following the things going on, there's quite a few anomalies, let's just put it that way, that have been going on. And I'm, in my opinion, evidence of just massive, blatant voter fraud. So regardless of what ends up happening with the inauguration, like who is actually inaugurated, there's definite evidence of fairly heavy chicanery. And I'll get into some of the specifics of that. So we could see a lot of stuff. Yeah, chicanery, malfeasance.
Yes.
Shenanigans, whatever you want to call it.
That's good. And people don't use that word too often, which is trickery. Trickery through the...
Got a 760 on my SAT verbal, so it's up there.
Excellent. That's a perfect word to use. I just usually don't hear that.
Yeah, it's kind of antiquated.
Are you of the mindset that there is intentional fraud across the board with the motivation to get Trump out?
there was almost, I mean, it's mathematically like guaranteed that there was fraud. People like to inject the word widespread, like, oh, but there's not widespread fraud. Like, what does that even mean? Like, it's in all the counties that they knew they would win ahead of time, to the point that the things that they look at, like the way we know that countries like Russia, Venezuela, Syria, and things with these dictatorships are close to it, like Putin, the way we know that they don't have fair elections, the things we look at, that's what's showing up in these areas. Voter percentages, like voter turnout percentages that are 5 to 6 times the standard deviation. In some cases exceeding, like voter turnout that's exceeding 100%. Dead people have officially been found to have voted, and they're saying they're computer glitches that have changed only in favor of Biden. And they're like, oh, it was a glitch, we fixed it, it wasn't malfeasance, but just things that are ridiculous. And like, I'll show you some of the interesting thing about it was, for anyone who is, and what made them do it so blatantly, is that Trump had actually run up really solid, impressive margins of votes by late on election night, to the point way beyond what they thought they would have to surpass with their fraud. So you get things like, they actually kicked poll watchers out in the places they even had let them in at all, in like Michigan and Wisconsin, said, we're done for the night, everyone go home. And then at 4 a.m. after that, there was this huge influx of literally 100,000 votes, 130,000 in Michigan, I think, and 100,000 in Wisconsin. It went literally 100% for Joe Biden. Like, not one for Jorgensen, not one vote writing in Kanye or their neighbor, 100% for Joe Biden. And this isn't even really disputed. I'll show you the picture right here. Someone contacted the, these are what the graphs of incoming votes look like. Can you see that?
Can you zoom in on that? You can zoom in
yeah,
the bottom left there.
I think I got, yeah. So there we go. So in Wisconsin on the left and Michigan on the right, you see the vote trajectories on the blue and red lines, red being Trump. And then at about 4 a.m., after they kicked out the poll watchers, bam, vertical line where this massive amount of votes are injected into the system exclusively for Biden in both states. And they try to say that this is because of mail-in ballots skew heavily Biden. And like, yeah, okay, maybe he would get 60-40, maybe even 70-30 or something like that, but 100%. And they didn't follow down. They were so rushed, they didn't even have a chance to follow down to these were all like naked ballots other than a vote for Biden. They didn't vote for Senate races or anything like that. There's no votes even for Jorgensen or Kanye or whatever. Like, it's just blatant fraud. And when they asked the Department of Elections in these states, like, what's going on with these trajectories of these lines, they're just like, we can't speculate. It's like, well, I'll speculate. I don't mind speculating about that. Is that, I mean, it's literally mathematically impossible that there wasn't tampering with this. Whether there was enough that it would.
If you don't mind, while you're talking, just zoom right into that right one so we can all see it a bit better. You can zoom more than that.
Like that? Is that too much?
Sure. And then move it right over. And then maybe I can see the text as well. What does it say at the top there? Michigan.
Yeah, state rate of Michigan. Total presidential votes for each party so far, with 83% of Michigan's expected vote counted. So this is like the county data. This is coming in from the counties. And they're plotting that trajectory when this massive influx of votes. So you'd think that if you got a huge batch of votes, and even if a massive percentage of them went to one person for whatever reason, you would at least see some of them going to the other person. And that's not what we're seeing here. So
with that,
these things like this, the voter turnouts and 90% and everything, they didn't happen everywhere. They only happened in these areas where they had been caught behind in these swing counties in swing states. So there's zero chance that there wasn't fraud. Now, whether the fraud is going to be properly uncovered, or if it was even enough to where if it is uncovered that it'll change the results, that remains to be seen. But there unquestionably was fraud and tampering with the results, for sure.
So the question is, so you're talking about Michigan, the Pennsylvania, Georgia, the swing, so quote unquote swing states. What is the recourse? So Trump has gone ahead and he's like,
they're filing lawsuits. Yeah, there's a couple things that could happen. So the lawsuits could go forward, and it's interesting because depending on how these votes were manipulated, there may not be a way to tell which were bogus and which were not. So I've heard reports of them like stripping the ballot from the external envelope that's supposed to have the signature on it to match up, things like that. So there's certain things that if the ballots weren't manufactured, like I've heard about these rumors of watermarks in the initial ballots and everything, so that you could tell if they had like copied one or just made one up. And I don't necessarily think that that is what's going on. But if there's proof that any of the ballots in a particular batch or particular district or whatever were tainted, obviously a court could order that any in that batch or that everything in that batch is potentially tainted, and then they would either throw out the results of that area for the whole thing for a time period, maybe even do a revote, which has happened in certain instances for local races where they just said, hey, we got to do the vote again, specifically in Pennsylvania, and I think North Carolina, that has already happened for smaller races, where they said there was fraud, we have to start over and do the election again.
Wow.
And then also there's a possibility that if this turmoil is so extensive and ongoing that they get to, I think it's that same date, like by the 14th, the state legislators have to submit their votes up, that if they don't have a result from the vote, then the House votes on like just who that state's going to go for at that time.
Okay, well, first off, good evening, everyone. Nice to see some familiar names out there. So a couple of people said good evening, Jake. So nice to see the regular crowd, the regulars coming in and checking us out week after week, month after month for the Prepper Trifecta. I talked about this in my last video, and it's to reverse this. Eric is going to see some. There are too many people that are just. So there's so much conviction and passion with which side they're supporting on, to either if it's reversed or if it's not reversed by the 14th. There's still going to be a lot of people that are pissed off on either side.
Oh yeah, I mean I've talked before, and I had to clarify to one of the comments on YouTube because I'd said here before that I think the worst case scenario is a long drawn out process like we're seeing now with an eventual Biden win. Now, I think that's the worst case for the country by far, but I think the worst case for civil unrest in the short to medium term is certainly if everyone who thinks that Biden has won now gets the rug pulled out from under them, and by court order or something like that, or Supreme Court case where the Supreme Court includes 3 justices that Trump had put on there, if he gets the win from that, then I think for civil unrest, that is the worst case scenario, which we are approaching, in my opinion. And it's also interesting to note that at least 2, maybe all 3, but I know for a fact that 2 people who worked with George Bush on the 2000 case, not in the Supreme Court, but supported Bush on his case to the Supreme Court, were Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, who are now Supreme Court justices. That's an interesting coincidence too.
Yeah, that is quite the coincidence.
So yeah, there's certainly a potential for massive rustling of jimmies.
Do you see Trump? Let's just assume Trump entertains every facet legally and he gets denied, and things just are suppressed in such a way that we can't verify. We have instances or examples of someone being 120 years old that voted, and right. It's clear, it's factual, but certain states are saying, F you to the government, we're highly democratic, and we're just going to push this our agenda, our position for having Biden. Do you see Trump acting out, maybe even suggesting some sort of civil war, civil recourse? Because I don't think he's going to concede.
I really don't.
And he's not going to concede. So that provides for there's a timeline where everything's going to come to one single point where he's not going to concede. He's not going to leave the White House.
Right. I don't think he'll concede until it's every legal recourse has been exhausted. But we've seen in the past where there's been things where there's been times and ways that he could really have gone ham on people in certain ways, and he hasn't ever. He's always followed legal recourse and things like that. He hasn't just gone nuts and done everything scorched earth type stuff to get back at
scorched earth, right? I don't see him if we're being fair, I don't think that we're going to reach a point in early January or December. We're just going to say, oh, okay, we did the recount and it ends up that I lost in this state, and he's going to, you know what I mean? I don't think he's going to, he's suddenly going to accept, oh, okay, I lost, okay, and leave the White House and have a big speech. Or do you? I don't know. I guess my
guess is that he would. I don't think that if everything, like, even if it's completely bogus, I can't imagine it. He just hasn't ever done something that would lead me to indicate that he would just sit in the Oval Office and be like, no, I'm not leaving. And if he did, I don't think there would be enough people in the government. There'd probably be enough people in the country, like civilians, but I don't think there'd be enough people in the government who would go along with that to make it feasible. But it's possible, but I just don't see it. I don't see him doing that.
Okay.
Because like I
Fair
said,
enough.
he could go. I've gone ape shit on a lot of these other, like the Russian investigation, and like when all these investigations that kind of petered out, he'd just be like, man, and kind of get mad about it on Twitter, but he never really would even like fire a lot of these people or really like destroy their lives and shit like that and just go nuts like he could have if he really wanted to. Like he could have gone super scorched earth in a lot of these
Well,
situations.
okay.
And maybe he will, but I just don't. It doesn't seem
This
to be
isn't
consistent with what he's done in the past.
this isn't Russia though. This is talking about getting rejected for the highest, most powerful position in the planet, basically, in such a
Yeah.
way where he's convinced there's some sort of fraudulent activity. So
Right.
it's going to be very entertaining. I'm gonna just read a quote here.
Yeah, go for it. I would say while you look that up real quick, I'll say the only way that I think he would do something like that is if he had reason to believe that he was completely fucked if he leaves, if they were going to really come after him and try to put him in jail or all that stuff, and he had literally no choice.
No, I don't see that, but I don't see him having a press conference or a speech where I see spite personally.
Oh, I do. I definitely see spite, and he might leave in a huff, for lack of a better word, and do
Right.
many things to kind of not make it smooth. But I definitely don't think he will just try to not leave. I don't think. If it comes to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, please all caps in the comments. All caps followed by question mark.
Well, here's an interesting. Go for your quote, and then I have an interesting point I'm going to bring up that Giza said.
Visages. We got to think of a short term for that. Okay,
BRG.
Week. Yeah,
BRG.
BRG. Giza BRG from now
BRG.
on. A gentleman asked on my channel, long-time subscriber. His name's Elvis, but it's spelled with 3s. He says, curious that you think the right-wing extremists are a threat to civilians should Biden win. This is pre-election, obviously, or pre-announcement of the winner. Left-wing extremists will continue to burn loot, blah, 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 blah. But he's of the mindset of, well, I don't know what his mindset is. But I'll pose that question to you, and then you can go on with your point, which is that we've got 70 million Americans that are pro-Trump. We've got some people that are extremely right-wing to the point that they're going to be defiantly defending Trump right to the end.
For sure.
And that may be influenced by, escalated by physical violence in some parts in various states. There'll be some sort of backlashes, I think. Do you think Trump's demeanor and reflection on his dismay with the results of the election are going to be reflected with parts of the population where we may see
could be. I think, and I do think that if Trump said, fuck this, like burn this shit down, that a lot of people would be like, yeah. But let me show you another picture. But that hasn't happened yet. And let me show you another picture that's interesting. So can you guys see that? Can you guys see this one? You might recognize one version of this picture. Okay. So this is the wailing woman from Trump's inauguration, and this has been passed around because now people are posted. And the interesting thing about this, though, is first of all that they recognize that this behavior was because this has been passed around to try and troll Trump supporters now, is that they recognize that this behavior was absurd. And second of all, that they had to modify a picture of one of their own people melting down to make fun of us. They couldn't find a single picture of a crying Trump supporter screaming, wailing. You know what I mean? So that goes to show you how the situation really is. You know what I mean? It's kind of like with the Jussie Smollett stuff, like the demand for racism is outstripped by the supply in the United States. If it was really that crazy of a situation, it wouldn't be that hard to conjure up, some racist doing something mean to you. They had to create the situation out of whole cloth. Yeah, if there were really a situation where Trump supporters had just lost their shit, it wouldn't be that hard to find a picture of it. They wouldn't have to modify a picture of one of their own people.
Yep.
So at least right now, where people are holding out hope, that's not the case. When which I honestly, and I'm just going to put this out there, I legitimately still think that there is a better than 50-50 chance at this point that Trump is going to be the one inaugurated in January, based on what I've seen from the voter fraud. And this gets back to, I think that is what's happening. I couldn't put a percentage on it, but I do think that is what's going to happen. And this goes back to what I was going to say about what BRG said, where let's see if I lost his comment. He said Trump 2024. So for me personally, and this is why I'm kind of at peace with the situation, because either what I think is going to happen, they're going to expose his blatant fraud, and at least some of the results will be overturned, or they don't. And if it's really that they do not, and Trump loses election because of them conjuring up hundreds of thousands of votes out of thin air, why the fuck would you ever vote again? I certainly won't. And they're going to say, oh, well, he'll run again in 2020. You're going to let them conjure up hundreds of thousands of votes out of thin air at 4 a.m. in the morning to cover whatever margin they needed. It will go unpunished, and then you're going to say, "Oh, we'll just run again next time, and we'll try to beat them by 30 points so we can, surpass the fraud." Like, give me a break. I would never fucking vote again. That's for damn sure. So I really don't like the perspective. Oh, but we'll get them back in the midterms, and like, this is complete. If you let complete blatant election fraud stand, your recourse is to go vote again in those elections. Give me a break. That's some cuckery, if you ask me.
Yeah, if there's holes in the bucket, there's no point in putting water in it again.
Right. You're gonna pour it in so fast that you just overcome the holes. Like, give me a break. The more intelligent recourse would be like, well, they don't apparently seem to stop any voter fraud, so let's just print up a voter or create a vote printing operation and beat them that way.
Mm-hmm.
That would be more logical. It wouldn't obviously it would be immoral, but it would be much more logical than just saying like, oh, people are going to be so pissed that we'll get them back in the midterms. Hell with that. Such a bizarre perspective.
If Biden wins, we're all screwed? ? I guess that's from South Florida, DCL. I suppose that's your point of view. Trout Junkie
It
has a
depends,
question.
because, like I said, I mean, you got to take these things from a historical perspective. Like, we've had worse than Joe Biden. He would be a horrible, horrible president. Kamala will be worse when he dies. Life goes on. You know what I mean? Life goes on.
It's gonna be. I could swear. I always wait till Eric swears first before I swear. No, don't be sorry. It's your channel. It's
I'm saying, like, don't worry about it. It's gonna be. I don't think I've made it through a whole live stream at all without dropping a couple F-bombs.
Figure out which trifecta is like PG-13.
Right.
I saw that on. Have you ever seen Reddit? There's this girl, nice looking girl, but a little like bookwormy with glasses and everything. And there's
is she the one with Tourette's?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay.
It's just a photo, and they hold up a sign that says "roast me."
Oh yeah.
And somebody wrote that one of the top comments was really, really good. I don't know why I got on this, but it was hilarious. It was somebody wrote in. It says, "Sex with you is so basic. It's rated PG-13."
Shirt doesn't even come off.
Yeah. Yeah. Be willing. The election is far from over. It will end up at the SCOTUS. Like, okay, that's not even a question. Come on.
Will you take the vaccine? We've covered this. I've got extensive use out of the GIF from Escape from LA, where he goes, "Which one of you gets to die trying to stick me?" That is my official stance on non-consensual things getting put into my body.
I had a question for those that don't know. The Lord Humongous is the character in the second of the Mad Max series and famous movies back in the 80s featuring Mel Gibson.
And he rules the wasteland. He's the ruler of the wasteland. That's why, yeah.
Yes, and he's which came, I guess Jason, like the horror movie Jason came first, right, with the mask?
Yeah, the original. Well, that's an interesting question, because the original Friday the 13th didn't have Jason in it as a killer with the hockey mask. It was his mom. I don't know when the first hockey mask one was. Was it 2 or 3? Some horror and when did the Lord, because was that 81?
I can't remember. Maybe we'll go to fan.
Now I gotta look this up. I should ask my girlfriend. She'd probably know that. She's a movie buff. But yeah, so it might have been beforehand.
Irrespective of that.
Sorry, I'm getting in the weeds.
This is it was bugging me the other day, and it was like, I think the audience deserves an answer too. It was in that movie, if you're that character, and there's always, I've seen it 1,000 times. One of these movies where there's limited channels back when I was a kid, and
right, it would always be on.
It'd always be on. I memorized every single scene. And I remember the pulse scene on in his brain when he's speaking. One time, there's a vein is going, and he says to the Mel Gibson and the tribe of the good maniacs, I guess we'll call them, just give us the fuel, and you walk away. We walk away, or something like that.
End to the horror. Just walk away, and I spare your lives.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Do you believe he would have done that?
Dude, I forget who I was talking about, but I was like, I think it was someone on Twitter, and I was like, do you think he would have honored the deal?
Deal, exactly.
Yeah, would he have honored the deal? If they said, here it is, and just walked away, would he have been? I like to think that he would have, but some people think that he wouldn't have, that he was crazy.
Well, for the audience that doesn't know, Mel Gibson and the tribe of good maniacs had access to an oil drill, all the fuel within their bunker, their compound.
The only fuel, yeah. And he says, like, just walk away. The pumps, the compound, just walk away. They spare your lives. So his deal was, because they had him surrounded, they're in the middle of the desert, they had him outnumbered but surrounded, but they could basically hold him off semi-indefinitely because they had flamethrowers. But there was just at a stalemate, and they're like, "You're not leaving. You're gonna still like." So he's like, "If you just leave, give us the gas and the pumps and all of it, and we'll just we'll give you safe passage to the wasteland." I say yes.
Okay, I don't
Because
know.
why would he have gone a
There's-
drawn-out battle that would have cost him some of his guys and
Indeed.
resources when he's got the guy and they can just leave?
I don't know. Well, that's an answer for you because your mantra, you're based on that fictional character. But
Yes, I'm aware also that the character is highly homoerotic. That is not.
well, even the dude underneath him, the guy with the red mohawk.
Yeah, he had like a
Take it
straight up like
now.
boyfriend.
Let's go.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah,
we go in. We go in.
Actually, I was just gonna Google because he looked a lot like
Wes.
Duff. He looked a lot like Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. Like
Oh,
Duff.
he's the bad guy from the movie Commando too. It's the same guy.
Is he really?
This Australian actor, yeah. He plays
It's just
Bennett.
a dude with blonde out, puffed out hair. The blonde dude.
Oh, I'm talking about the guy. Yeah, they got the red mohawk who had the.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about his bitch.
No, his little. His bitch. But I don't know. Yeah, he could be Guns N' Roses guy. No, the main guy, Wes, with the red mohawk, the one who had the bitch. He was in Commando.
We're getting way off topic.
Yeah, in the weeds.
Excuse me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and Exploring with Larry says he sounds like a reasonable man, which is one of the women in the compound says. Like, let's take the deal. He sounds like a reasonable man.
Eric Che, what about the 2A if Biden wins? I don't know what 2A means.
Second Amendment.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, I think he will go after it. There will be a bunch of fights. Ammo and stuff will be very expensive. But the presidential administration, certainly the executive branch, doesn't have the ability to just make guns illegal. They'll make it a giant pain in the ass. Trump did an awesome job of putting 3 conservative justices, conservative, whatever extent you think, on the Supreme Court. I'm not that worried about like anything too significant happening. What I'm worried about is a bunch of little stuff and just prices going insanely through the roof in anticipation of that.
We have no rights here in Canada. I'm from Canada, so we don't have a Second Amendment really. But you guys have got the NRA, which is a very powerful organization. Nothing's going to. There are too many white people with guns. I don't see.
I mean, there's just too many people, period, in the country that are worried about that. That it's hilariously just a non-starter most of the time in elections. That if you just it coalesces people who have otherwise differing political opinions, and it's just not worth it for them to go after it usually. You know what I mean?
So maybe be more specific. So the question, South Florida, DCL, maybe be more specific about what about the Second Amendment if Biden wins. I
mean, he would be pushing for an assault weapons ban similar to what we had before George Bush let it expire. He would be pushing for magazine limits. He'd be pushing for extensive background checks and all this other nonsense. I don't think most of it would actually materialize because you can't just create that stuff by executive decree or executive order. You know what I mean? When it's a constitutional amendment you're talking about.
Bill P., what would happen if Joe B. doesn't make it to January 20 in good health?
I think Kamala would get sworn in, I imagine. I mean, I don't know what.
I think it's inevitable. He's what is he, 88?
No, he's not nearly that old. I think he's 70. He's not 80 yet. He's 77, I think.
70, I think it's 78. 78.
78
yeah, like
right.
in the next few weeks, his birthday's coming up. I don't know. I mean, like I think, to be honest with you, I think Kamala's probably going to be making most of the decisions anyways.
Right, or whoever else is actually the power behind this whole thing. I don't think Biden was ever really expected, regardless of whether he croaks or not, that he was ever really expected to be like making decisions. They're going to be like, they're there, go set him off in the rocking chair in the corner, prop him up for speeches now and then. And even Kamala doesn't seem like somebody who runs the show. They seem like they're both owned pretty thoroughly by the machine, So that's why they were the choices. And that's what's interesting about 2016 and the reason that Trump was able to get elected in the first place is because by the time they realized what was going on, they weren't really able to rig they'd never had to rig a general election. You get characters like George Bush and Al Gore, like they're both owned by the machine, so to speak. Like they don't really care who wins out of that. They might have their preferred. That's why they don't even like people like Bernie, because is he crazy and left as he is, more left actually than a lot of their people. He's not as owned as somebody like a Joe Biden or Kamala or whatever. Oh, my beer is exploding. Bad
Where
times.
was-
But yeah, here there's another question from BGA. I think where was it? I missed it.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. BRG.
PRG,
Notorious
sorry. Yeah,
PRG.
here we go. The notorious PRG. How long before Biden locks down the entire country? That I'm just like, because everyone talks about how as soon as Biden is elected, if that happens, that the coronavirus will disappear. And we're sort of seeing that to some extent, where like there's these massive celebrations in DC and stuff, and no one's talking about it being a super spreader event, like they did with Trump rallies and things like that. No one's wearing masks and being like, oh, it's so irresponsible. You're killing everybody's grandma, like they do every time Trump supporters get together. But I do think there's a high likelihood of him just going along with Europe and whatever and saying there's another 3-month lockdown and then just pumping money into the system. So I think it's very possible. I'd say even likely that if he does end up getting inaugurated, they're going to, and numbers haven't gotten significantly better by then, that they'll push for national mask mandates and extensive lockdowns.
I don't know much about Georgia. Fazdal asks, what do you think about Georgia Senate runoffs? I don't even know what that means. What does it mean, a runoff?
It means when they get to, I think they have like a second stage of the election that they have to do again in Georgia. I don't know the specifics of what causes.
What did they
yeah,
say? They said it was so close they want to recount it anyways. But is that even
I think it's when one candidate doesn't get at least 50% of the vote, then they do a rerun with the top two people. So one person might have gotten more than anyone else, like 30%. Someone else got 25%. You know what I mean? But they didn't get to that 50% margin. Then usually they'll do a second stage where just those top two people face off. So.
Okay, probably a good time to introduce this article I received anonymously.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Not anonymously. Somebody got my email. Maybe it's just spam, and I'm part of some prepper forum.
We are preppers. We love our spam.
But it was sent to me from, well, I won't say anonymous. First name Sky. Anyways, interesting article. You know what I'll do is I will copy this link and I will paste it into the comments section. And Prepper Princess, which I don't. So check the comments now. You should see that link. I'll tell you what. I'll do it 3 times. 2, 3. I'm gonna spam the comment section for a second. I don't really know Prepper Princess. I think you've met her once or twice.
Yep. Yeah, in person actually. Yeah. She came out here to Vegas one time.
Yeah, I remember when she was just first starting out and she had like 17 views on these videos and just doing stuff in her kitchen. Way back when. Yeah. But anyway, she's got a pretty neat video on just breaking through this article, which apparently came from our political party in power, the Liberals, and it talks about how there are certain projections that are expected and what the roadmap is, so to speak, with respect to the Prime Minister's office, what their intentions are. And
for Canada specifically, right?
Canada specifically, but they're suggesting that most nations are going to be on board with this, and they're basically saying we're rushing to create facilities for because we're going to get overrun. It's inevitable. Hospitals are going to get overrun with daily new cases
for COVID.
For COVID.
Oh, interesting.
Daily new cases of COVID-19 will surge beyond capacity of testing, including increases in COVID-related deaths, following the same growth curves expected by the end of November 2020, which is not too far from here. I'll just mention 2 or 3 points, and then perhaps you can give me your take on how you think shit's going to get turned upside down there with your new leaders in power, in reference to how they're going to react. Projected COVID mutation and/or co-infection with secondary virus, referred to as COVID-21, leading to a third wave with much larger mortality rates or higher rate of infection expected by February 2021. So that's very, very soon. Basically, the government's Prime Minister's office saying that we're going to see higher mortality and the virus mutation in the next few months. Let's see. Enhanced lockdown restrictions will be.
We're already seeing that. Sorry to interrupt. We're already seeing that in Europe. All over Europe, they're starting re-lockdowns.
That's it. It's getting kind of scary that they're suggesting that full travel restrictions will be imposed, including inter-province and intercity, which means even moving around town is going to be more difficult. But this is the scary part. This is the part that fucking like motivated me to send you I rarely send you a link. Eric pre-show and say, hey, we should talk about this, but I felt compelled to with this one and compelled to paste it 5 times into the chat comments because it has, if it's real, it has me concerned. And I don't know the validity or the credibility of the source, but it sounds very consistent with what our left-minded prime minister would do. So one other point is transitioning individuals to a universal basic income by the second quarter of 2021, because they know that we're just too far in debt.
Yeah.
But more scary than that is if you read it, he basically suggests that we're going to abolish all debt, remove all debt from individuals in lieu of giving up all our personal property and all our personal possessions, so to speak. That's
I've seen that as like almost like indentured servitude, like like you don't own anything anymore, but you don't have to pay for anything either, kind of thing.
Yeah, which is a
really
roadmap,
terrifying.
which is a roadmap to socialism, which is a roadmap to there's nothing positive that can come from that. There's no version of socialism historically that has worked.
Right.
So it's very, very scary. And the keyword phrase was universal basic income, because that's the Titanic hitting the iceberg. That's the breaking point of, okay, we're going down this road of socialism. So that means buckle up, sunshine, because to me, forget the pandemic. I don't care about the pandemic. I don't care about all this other sort of stuff going on. But if Canada goes down a socialistic road, and similarly if America follows, basically it's just a matter of time before we're fucked.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting. And I do think the same is going to happen to some extent here. I think that Biden win is stock market positive, basically, because I mean, not like Trump was some against the Fed really or anything like that, but I think for sure a Biden administration, if it does happen, would be full on money printing, stimulus packages out the ass, just this full steam ahead in terms of devaluing the currency. So definitely one to get in on the betting against the debt, owning gold and silver and real assets. And I do think the stock market, to some extent, at least initially, will be rocketing upwards as they just create tons and tons of money.
Evil Blonde, always a pleasure. Evil Blonde. I don't know why somebody would intentionally call themselves evil, but unless maybe she really is evil. She says 5 times a chain, not a 1 worked. I don't understand what that means. The links didn't work. Don't know, but who knows the credibility behind the article that I linked out there, and if we're going to go down that road. But the interesting thing to me is what's going to happen with you guys, because I just think you guys are screwed either way too. Yeah. You're hugely divided, and it's not that there's some degree of division. There are people that are there's extreme passion on both sides, and I don't know, man. I think we're starting to see the beginning of something a lot more sinister and evil. Let's just pretend the pandemic's the flu. I think there's potentially this is just the infancy of something that is much more shit hit the van worthy. It's probably the best way I can phrase it.
But also kind of long term, it's not something that we're going to really see materialize over the next 2 months, like the stuff that you're talking about.
No, but
you know what I mean?
We're creating the framework or the bridge, the foundation for a road 3 to 5 years from now where, look at Venezuela, where people are fighting over scraps of food.
Yeah, I do think the country will eventually break up because of such things, probably within the next 15 years would be my guess, especially on this current trajectory. We have, someone said, who was it out here? What should Trump do on his way out? Oh, Alkman Titeus says, what executive order should Trump issue on the way out to hamper Biden? Executive orders can be instantly undone, usually by another executive order, so that's not really going to do much. Because we're already talking about Biden in like his first day is going to do an executive order undoing the one banning teaching critical race theory in government positions and stuff. But what he should do is just declassify just like everything. Just like I said, I am in favor of the scorched earth policy. If it gets to the point that the fraud stands, basically burn the motherfucker down. That's what I say.
I wonder
figuratively speaking.
I don't know
If there's
what
any information about aliens, shit, let that out. Everything from like the JFK, everything that he knows about anything, he has wide powers as president to disclose a lot of information legally. And I think he should just dump it all. Pardon Assange, pardon Snowden, all this stuff. Just go nuts, you know? I don't think he's never done that. And like I said before, I don't think that's really in his MO, because we've had situations where it was a lot of people working under him were working against him, even just like petty stuff. And he hasn't really gone after them, tried to fix that. You know, I don't think he really works that way, but that's what I think he should do if he is eventually forced to leave, is just to go nuts.
That's a good way to go. I mean, if you're backed in a corner, which seems like he is, that
make everything tough on him, show him how fucked up the government really is. You know, expose
Yep.
all of it. Expose how the FBI and CIA like actually instigates a lot of these supposed terrorist events. You know, everything from the Pulse nightclub to the Vegas shooter to this recent Whitmer plot. Expose all that shit. Dump everything out there in the open and just get people thoroughly disgusted with the way the machine works.
I never even considered that he would do something like that. I always thought that he may provoke or tell citizens to turn against, go start some sort of internal civil war.
I don't think he'll do that directly, but I don't know.
Shroud Junkie, what do you think about Fox News going Biden friendly?
I think anyone who thought they were anything other than a big news media company were being naive. It's not surprising to me in the least. That's all I got to say about that, really. They were pretty much worse than CNN on election night, literally calling Arizona almost instantly, still waiting to call like Alaska, where he's up by like 35 points with 75 or 80% of the vote in, things like that. It's just ridiculous, but not surprising. I haven't been relying on major news media sources for years.
Don't really watch them. The odd channel I do watch, or not channel, not on television anyways, but the YouTube clips I see, it seems very phony at the end, because they'll get the anchor, one of the main guys, and they'll say, "Hey, thanks for checking out our channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe." It's so, it's like they're forced to use the YouTube medium with these clips to make money, because nobody's watching television anymore. It's a fight for these clips online, and they want a piece of the pie, so to speak.
Yeah,
it feels very artificial to me. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't matter which one it is. It could be left or right. It's just
it's just fake. Yeah, it's totally fake.
Yeah.
It's all
Joe Rogan, you know, said this years ago, and I think he had the really good point. It's just, how do you expect to get a real opinion from somebody if you've got a panel of 4 people and they've got 20 to 40 seconds each, and they're fighting for airtime in this very small window?
Right.
It's just buzzwords and on, you know, it's not authentic in my opinion.
Yeah, brings up another point too, other than the news media specifically, is the polling. Everyone was telling me how impossible it was at the polling. They're like, yeah, it was wrong in 2016, but it would have to be even more wrong now. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I even made a specific tweet that said, not only was the polling going to be wrong this time, it's going to be even more wrong than it was in 2016. And even if the current results stand as it is with the states that they're saying going to Biden, it was off by like anywhere from 6 to 15 or 12 or 15 points in almost all these areas. Just hilariously useless and totally wrong. And I explained all of this for the past few months about why that's the case. So that's complete vindication, regardless of whether he wins or loses by 1%. The fact that he was supposed to be down by 8 to 12%, you know, hilarious.
Let's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we got another 13 minutes left here. Questions, all caps.
Some memes. I have a couple memes.
Oh yeah, let's do some memes. But I was going to ask you what your prediction is going to be for the next 2 weeks or so. But let's do memes first.
I'll do memes, and then we'll end with the predictions. So, do you have any memes this time?
I've got 4.
Some of these are just pictures of the stuff that I've been explaining, not memes strictly speaking. But all right, so we got this. You're like, well, it's election day again, because they're still counting.
Right.
And then we got me waiting for the election results. And then Georgia overnight. I just blew myself.
Oh no.
That's from not Curb Your Enthusiasm. What the hell is that show?
People are Curb Your Enthusiasm?
No, it's the one about Arrested Development. That's what it's called.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if I showed this one already too, but he said the same folks that's counting them Rona cases ain't counting the mail-in ballots, is they? Then we have a look at how presidents age from the beginning of their terms to the end. And we have Joe Biden aging from himself to Kamala Harris.
Oh no. You know that, man. That's funny. I want to see Barack Obama to Harris. That's funny.
So everybody gets gray hair and everything, and then he turns into Kamala Harris. So then we'll get that face you make when you're the only seated in the presidential row is a +1. Some Hillary. Then we got not all Democrat voters are dead, but all dead voters are Democrats.
Yep, there you go.
That seems to be the case. Then we have the drug sniffing dog after visiting Hunter Biden's house. A little frazzled. Then we have I don't remember if I showed this one yet either, but it says my shoelace broke today. Most people would blame Donald Trump, but I know it's actually because of climate change. It's everything blame on Trump. That reminds me of a joke I would always use during the Obama presidency. He'd always be like, "Thanks, Obama," anytime like anything remotely bad happened. Like you blow a tire and thanks, Obama. Because some conservatives were being stupid about it, almost to that extent. Like, look, dude, you know everything bad that happens in your life is because of Obama, right? And here's what I showed before with this isn't a meme, it's literal data. Pretty disgusting. Yeah. Here we have Jeb. Come back from behind. 538 electoral votes. And here's some other, this is actual more data as well to show you what I was talking about with like the turnout and things like that. And this is the delta in turnout from the 2016 election. See, the red line is how many more Trump got in this election than in 2016. And the blue lines are how many more tens, if not hundreds of thousands of votes Biden got. And then just happened to be in specifically needed counties and specifically needed states to swing this thing. So very interesting.
Right in on that. Let's get the audience a closer view on it.
Yeah, so here we have all the different counties. And Trump obviously did better than he did in 2016, and Biden did in most cases too. But very specifically, in a few of these counties, this is in Georgia specifically, bam, 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 just like massive, massive third world dictatorship levels of voter turnout. 5-6 standard deviations above the mean. One out of and the reason we know it's fake too is not because voter turnout was just crazy levels. It wasn't. It was only crazy levels in these specific areas that were very highly needed. So that's what's shady. Then we have same thing here too. Different states that got the voter turnout overall was 100% or more of the registered voters. So obvious fraud there. And here we have one that says the Democrats rigged the primaries against Bernie, and it says so they're not above election fraud. Then the cognitive dissonance set in. NPC gets mad. No comment, just anger.
Yeah.
And then I showed you this one already, and then Al Gore. And I don't know if you saw this one, but in Nevada, right here in Nevada, this guy stormed one of the press conferences and started shouting about the Biden crimes family stealing this election and all this. And he was wearing a shirt that said "Barbecue, Beer, and Freedom." It's fucking awesome.
This happens. You ran into a live news.
Yeah, they were doing a press conference outside the Clark County Board of Elections building. It's a few miles away from me, and talking about how we're slowing down, and it's slow because of this, and meow, 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 meow. And he just ran up there and started yelling at him. And he's had this shirt that apparently is from Walmart, which is even more hilarious.
I gotta Google that.
Yeah, it says "Barbecue, Beer, and Freedom," which I've definitely. If you guys have any, I'm definitely in the market for a Barbecue, Beer, Freedom shirt.
Yep.
So send them my way. PO box is in the link to my videos. They were sold out when I looked, so I will take one for sure.
thewasteland@gmail.com.
Right, and that is. Oh, here we go too. This is a funny moment that actually happened night of the election. A glitch for briefly showing Joe Jorgensen winning the state of Wisconsin by 52%. I don't know why that struck me as hilarious, but especially because I think it was yellow, which is always used as Jeb's color, like in that previous meme. So Jeb Bush is oh, Jeb won in 2020. And this was sent to me by a reader too. It's not a meme so much as it is a funny pendant for 2020. It shows you toilet paper and masks.
Okay.
And then here we got Joe Biden, how he shoots his hoops. Whoop. That's the same curve from earlier, obviously.
Yeah.
And then they have, you can have Lady Gaga. We have Lady Maga, which is Melania. Yeah. And then here's a good one. It says, this is Sarah. Sarah is 30 years old and is a rabid Biden supporter. She's never exercised a day in her life, eats everything she wants, and drinks beer until 3 a.m. What's her secret? No secret. Sarah is the one in the upper right-hand corner of the picture.
Can you zoom in on that girl's eyes?
Yeah, right there. That's
Yeah,
Trump,
go up a bit.
Trump land. Oh, this one?
No, I don't want to see that ugly.
There we go. Trump
Slow
supporter.
down,
She looks like a Trump. She looks like a Trump supporter to me.
That looks fantastic.
That'd be my guess. Trump supporter all the way. Then we got, this was a funny one. This is a real tweet I caught that said, everyone is celebrating, but like, I don't know, man. It kind of feels like a horror movie where the monster just died, but there's still 20 minutes left in the runtime. And I'm like, oh yeah, we have such sights to show you. And like I said, I'll reiterate, I truly, as crazy as you may think it is, I truly honestly believe that at this point, Trump is going to be the one who is inaugurated in January. Then we have Stalin himself saying it's not the people who vote that count, it's the people who count the votes. Sad but true. And then I won, really. It's not fraud because I'm better on healthcare. I don't see him raising thousands of dead people to vote for him. Yeah, best healthcare. And then Americans willing to cross a frozen river to kill you in your sleep on Christmas. Not kidding, we've totally done it. And then that was it. That's what I got. Lighten the mood a little bit, hopefully.
You always dominate the memes, man. I don't.
Well, once I started, people have been sending them in, and I will say I haven't determined who sent me the one yet. I didn't go back and look to see who gets the prize. Which one was it that we determined that won? The Batman one or the playground one? I think.
I like the playground one.
Okay.
We shouldn't have said it. They would have forgot about it. Nobody would have got their prize.
Yeah, I would have. No, I want people to get the prize. So yeah, I'll send that. I got to figure out who sent it to me, and then I'll figure it out. I'll email them back. So yeah, power, positive thinking, feel the energy. I'm at peace because, like I said, I either get Trump in the White House, like I suspected all along, or I never have to worry about voting again or following politics because I will be completely 100% done with it if that level of chicanery is allowed to stand. That's it. That's pretty much my stance on the subject.
This is the part of the show where a black screen, a third one shows up and the sound goes funny. I have no idea why.
That part, yep.
I'm on my phone right now. Just the quality of the video, everything seems to be better when I do this on my phone as opposed to the computer. So I bring up another screen computer with the memes on to show you. So I'm going to show you my 4, feebly little memes, nothing compared to Eric's awesomeness. It should be connecting now, and so I apologize for the funky audio.
Yeah.
Here we go. Let me know when you can see that.
Not quite yet. Oh, here we go. Okay. Shit, he does look like Rambo.
There you go.
Well, that's funny too. But now that you should mention it, I've been using that meme a lot. I'm using a GIF from First Blood where he's like, "Nothing is over. Nothing."
This way, I probably
truly do believe. I truly do believe. Oh yeah.
Do you remember when he
she rips it up? Yeah. Hey, here's a good one. BRG says maybe when you get the UBI chain, they'll give you some good internet too, where you can afford better internet.
Thank goodness for socialism.
I've been trying to tell everyone that the Canadian internet only converts at 60% like the dollar, so it's.
I don't know why I felt compelled to.
Is this a good parts of the human to eat?
Yeah, exactly.
During the apocalypse. You got to stay away. It says the nervous system down there. You got to stay away from the brain and spinal cord because that's where you get bovine spongiform encephalopathy or mad cow disease.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's prion disease. It's in the proteins of the brain and spinal column. Well, that's actually how the human version of the mad cow disease was discovered in cannibal tribes because they couldn't figure out what was going on and only the women and children were getting it. But it was a tribe where when someone died, they would eat them as to pay homage to them or gain their powers or whatever. And because they're slightly lower down on the totem pole, the women and kids would always get the brains and the spinal tissue.
They did. I had to stop the share for a second. You're probably absolutely correct. I got one more meme or two more memes. But the scary thing about that is, goddamn feedback. The scary thing about that is, I got to connect back again here.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. Is that there are some people out there that are taking it seriously.
Yeah, and they're like, "This is a plan." Have you seen the Alex Jones bit where he's like, "I will fucking eat your ass if you try?" He's talking about becoming a cannibal for his neighbors if he had to like support his kid. So cute Alex Jones being, I will eat your ass. He's a national treasure. I don't care what anyone says. That full male vitality. It's like a fireman came in your mouth.
Yeah.
Wait, why does it have to be a fireman? I get the fire hose thing, but like, do firemen like come particularly more than anyone else?
No idea, man. Because it's like
what
a
is
hose,
that?
like a water
Yeah,
hose.
well, right, but they use the hose.
Who knows? But anyways, it's like a
What is
fireman
this stuff supposed to be?
Gaviscon. It's like for your anti like acid
Like
reflex.
Pepto-Bismol or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I walk around. Like I'm okay, but deep down inside, I want to buy another gun. I wish I got to fix that audio.
That reminds me of a meme where I think I've said this before too, but it shows the guy dragging, like you think someone's okay, but you don't know what their burden is, and it shows him carrying all these like huge burdens, and written on them all is just horny, horny, horny. It's like so burdened. You don't know what I have going on. It's relentless.
Excuse me.
Well, Alex Jones is always good on Rogan's show.
I think that just about does it. But before we go, we've got inauguration. We've got, that was pretty funny. Notorious BRG. That's what I'm gonna call you for now. Maybe when you get UBI, better internet. Yeah, it's true. If we go socialist over here. What's your prediction next week? Next 2 weeks, Eric. What's going to happen?
Well, they're initiating a lot of these official lawsuits on Monday for the stuff that I've been talking about. So we should start to see what becomes of that over the. It's going to be long though. The one key deadline to look for is around December 12th to 14th, because that gets to the point where by law, if these states haven't produced results, then it will go to the state legislator. And that could really cause some rustling of jimmies. If this stuff gets dragged out so long that they're like, well, we haven't got an answer. And that's why that date happened in 2000 with the Supreme Court. They made up their mind then and pushed forward. So that didn't happen. But if that gets to that point where they say the results haven't been certified because of whatever reason, we go to state legislator, Trump would probably win 26. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if a single state fails to certify their results, the entire election, all 50 states, go to that process. So that's interesting. So if even a single state doesn't finish up by then the entire election goes to be certified by the House. But it's not just every congressman gets a vote; it's every state gets a vote. So if there's 5 congressmen in the state, all 5 of them vote on what becomes one vote. And since that looks like it would shake out to be pretty clearly in favor of Trump, like 26 to 24 or somewhere along those lines, it would almost certainly result in a Trump win, and that would cause some, let's just say, epic rustling of jimmies on the left. Needless to say, it's interesting to note that none of these cities have took down the boards off their windows just yet. So we still have 20 minutes left in the movie. And the monster appears to be dead. The monster. So we'll see what happens.
There's rejection on both. The people aren't going to. Let's just assume that's the case. And the Senate's votes. It's a different voting system that puts Trump back or sustains his power. There's millions of people that are, irrespective of that already being in play, as this is the law. This is what we can do. This is the way it is. People are going to reject that. They're not going to accept it. There millions of people won't accept it.
Oh, true. And I'm not trying to say that there won't be any crazy people popping off on the right either. I mean, like by percentages, it's not even close. But there's 70 million or so Trump voters. To think that there won't be a few thousand at least that lose their shit. And when leftists lose their shit, they tend to throw a brick through a window. When right-wing people lose their shit, it tends to be like Timothy McVeigh. So you don't need quite as many of them usually to cause some issues.
William McCaslin.
You get like Anders Breivik and Timothy McVeigh and stuff like that, not someone who goes and like shits on a cop car or something. So
no, I think that's thanks to William McCaslin, South Florida DCL. Everyone hit that like button. That's what they're saying. So we've got fans promoting the show on our behalf. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. And I hate to leave on this note, but we don't have to. You can leave. You can kind of summarize this thought. But you were talking about Timothy McVeigh, which is that some of these guys, they're highly introverted, and they they obviously they come out of the woodwork and nobody even knows. It's like, oh, he was the
Right.
nicest guy, and he was the right.
The quiet guy, yeah. And they just when people have nothing left to lose,
Yeah,
they
and
lose
I
it,
think we can
as
see
Gerald
that
Salente says.
there will be an epitome of an apex of anger for some of these people, knowing that Trump didn't win, where we could see that bubble bursting in some of these, the few, we're talking about 70 million plus. And
Right.
I think that you're right, a few thousand. Let's just put it this way. Let's say it's 500. Let's be very modest.
Right.
Let's say it's
That's a
100
lot.
people.
Yeah.
100 psychos that have been laying dormant, they've got their tattoos.
And go on a killdozer rampage or something. You know what I mean?
Killdozer.
Like, how many does it take
Exactly.
to really stir up some shit?
Well,
and even
right.
one of them doing something, even just one, would be on every news channel across the entire country. It would set off the people, those same people on the left, and everything would just go. So I think the chances of stuff happening are extremely high. Like I've said before, and we've both talked about, I think we're in pretty much the worst case scenario for civil unrest from the election. Like a massive margin victory that was pretty much obvious on election night would be that we're going to have it no matter what. But now this is, both sides are getting more worked up, more sure of the the outcome, and so yeah, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird.
I'm concerned. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, but I do think that I'm not really ready to accept that the results are final, just from an intellectual standpoint, not even from what I want to happen. But regardless, until, like I said, I think for me, we got a month. December, this time December, we'll know, I think. Exactly. But obviously that's insane that it's, already 4 days after the election, we have no idea. And I'm saying it could be another month. But like I said early on, Gordon concede until the 12th or whatever. So we're not even close to unprecedented territory yet.
It just keeps getting interesting.
Could it be any other way? Would it be any other way?
I might do this. I might do this from up north next week, next Sunday. I might be back Sunday, not sure. But here's my.
I thought that was a vape, and I was like, bro, really?
My deer call. So
nice.
Be out in the bush hunting.
Awesome, man.
Maybe I'll have a deer in the background when we do this show next week. Ladies,
Coin Collector says, Coin Collector 1776 says, why did this happen in my lifetime? Would you rather things been boring? Are you not entertained? That's what I have to say. My spirits are high. I know that life goes on regardless of what happens. And thank God most of the bookies that I put money on make their determination at the inauguration day, not based on what the Associated Press has to say. So I'm still in it, baby.
I think there's a lot of, on a positive
note, what a time to be alive.
What a fascinating time to be alive. There's a lot of opportunity. And I read that I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk at all, really. I think I don't know, he named his kid after a symbol or a number or something retarded like that.
Oh, yeah, X335.
Something okay.
Like that.
I'll take that aside, but he did have this awesome quote, which was something to the effect of, you could get your master's degree in any topic that you want. You have this beautiful thing called the internet, and while most of it is filled with garbage, you could easily filter through and find the incredible, good information.
We have the knowledge of all humanity at our fingertips, basically. And all you have to do is spend some little bit of effort to filter through the crap. Have some little critical analysis. But yeah.
And you can learn. This is a great opportunity to learn, especially with the financial market, with it being so volatile. I think there's a great, enormous opportunity to make a lot of money. A lot of people are going to, a lot of organizations are devastated and obviously going bankrupt and being crippled as a result of this pandemic. But if you're the little guy like me, myself, most of the viewers, then a little bit of research and a little bit of time into really any area of the financial market, you can make a lot of money. Here's one example. Somebody asked me this the other day.
Oh, for sure. We could get crazy rich if you play it right for what's coming.
Maybe we should have a financial expert on next week or sometime in the next
week. That's a fantastic idea. I actually, who was there's one in particular that I was thinking of doing that, and I'll see if I can get him. I'd love to get Gregory Mannarino on. He lives out here in Vegas too. Cool. And he's probably too big for the likes of us, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see if he's down to earth and real. I got to read this one. This is from Marian Atkinson. What about General Oregon legalizing all the hard drugs?
They didn't legalize it. So strictly speaking, they decriminalized it, which, it's a semantics for the most part. It's not semantics. It's just a legal distinction, meaning that it usually becomes like a citation or something like that, a civil infraction below certain amounts. So it doesn't mean like you can go into the gas station and buy crack, but it's kind of similar to what a lot of states have done with marijuana, where they're not going to just start hauling people into prison for having a usable amount on their person. If they crack open your trunk and you have 5 kilos in there, you're still going to do hard time. But just having possession is simply becomes a fine usually. So obviously that's interesting. It's all hard drugs, meth, heroin, whatever. So libertarians should be happy about that. I really don't give a. I think that most things should not be determined by the government like that. But in states like that where you get a halfway version of libertarianism, it usually doesn't end well. You know, all they're doing in terms of libertarian sense is making drugs more accessible to everyone, but not changing anything else. It's probably just going to make everything shittier. You know, needles on the street and stuff like we see in San Francisco. So I doubt it's. I'm not long Oregon in terms of civilization expanding there.
We could talk for another hour, but I'll say this much quickly on drugs: is it's unfortunate that the sluggish, retardedly slow movements of government are inhibiting some of the value that some drugs could offer. As an example, I forget the term. There's something in mushrooms, psilocybin, something or other.
Psilocybin. It's the magic mushrooms or whatever. Yeah. Psilocybin. I can't even say it. But yeah, sure. It's the shrooms that people take to fucking.
Yeah, and
but there's a lot of medical benefits for like microdosing apparently.
Exactly.
Where you don't even have the physical effects or the mind-altering effects of it, but for like depression and all different kinds of mental illnesses, it seems to have a drastic effect without any of the downsides of stuff like lithium and all those crazy medicines.
Exactly.
So that's good for that. Yeah, that's very good for that.
It could be, but we can't explore that or attain that.
Yeah, you never could test before. You could never even do tests before with it because it was just illegal. Yeah. So
there's a lot of people, and there's this huge mental health crisis that we're going into. We're really seeing forget the last 9 months.
Oh yeah.
The next 9 months are going to be hellish for a lot of people. So I mean, we've got this drug where we don't even feel the crazy effects. So we could be taking these microdoses that could have these exponential benefits psychologically, but because of old school thinking and way of thought, they are banned, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, some people they printed it. So Resident Gray and William McCassell, it's psilocybin. I still can't pronounce it. How do you cybo?
Yeah. Psilocybin. I think I said it right the first time. Psilocybin, but it's just the actual psychoactive ingredient in the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just the scientific name of the mushrooms themselves. I can't even remember.
Oh, there we go. Mark Chase.
Oh yeah. Psilocybin. Okay. Smart Chase broke it down into put the emphasis on the right syllables for us.
Cool. All right. It's a wrap for me. 10-11.
That's it. I love it.
EST.
Like I said, guys, we should see a lot of interesting stuff over the next. Don't expect to know the final result until 2 weeks into December. Could happen, but just relax, go about your lives. Life is on.
Prep. That's all I got to say. Things are going to get fucking interesting.
They're going to get weird. That's what I said. Now, that's why this is titled Now the Fun Starts, because we are getting into some, like I said, could it possibly have been any other way? But the way this timeline has been going, couldn't possibly be any other way.
Yeah. Get bullets, beans, and ammo.
Yep.
Yeah, stock the fuck up. That's all I can.
Yep. One of my friends just texted me and said that 223 ammunition is up to about $1 around here. So I'm glad I sprung for 1,000 rounds of green tip at about 60 cents a round not too long ago, which I thought was already an fucking ass reaming. But
it's a little pricey. Okay.
That's American dollars there, Che, too. So.
Oh, that's right. Holy shit. Yeah, that's too much. That's crazy. One more buck around. There's a problem when you start thinking about, like you're
I just spit like one mag. It's like, oh shit, it's 50 cents, $50. Oh.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't do it.
There.
Yeah, exactly. Just can't do it.
I'll just stick with 22. We can shoot all day. Don't have to worry about money so much.
Yeah.
But always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. We do this every week. If you happen to stumble across this channel, so it's on Eric's channel. My name's Che. This is from Prepper Logic, and we'll do it again next week. Let's get a guest next week.
I had fun this time. Yeah, I'm trying to get someone who's either into law enforcement or finance. I think either of those would be good perspective for the coming months.
Yeah, we got to get that
For what we
3%
could
back
be.
as well. That was a great chat with him. The
Yep.
gentleman that joined us last week. So.
Yep. Had fun, guys. Check out the survival fishing kit. Honestly, I've been selling these pretty decently. So if you see it on Amazon, grab it. I'm going to be raising the price almost certainly by the end of the year. I just have to because it's taking me too long to to make them. So if you want to get one at the current price, grab it now. They've been selling pretty well on Amazon. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching. Check out